welcome everybody to the 22nd induction dinner of the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame. My name's Tim Jensen. I'm the vice chairman, and I'm so happy to be here to present yet another wonderful group of inductees. Before we start with the formalities, we have something that we call the Parade of Champions. All the new honorees, plus honorees from the past, going back to our very first induction of 1996. So, with that in mind, first I would like to introduce the chairman of the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame, Mike Kottner. From the 1980 Fermi High School wrestling team that was inducted into the Hall of Fame, Tim Desjardins. From the Hall of Fame class of 2016, Ben Alex. From the class of 2014, Joe Andrzejowski. From the class of 2013, Kirk Parker. From the class of 2010, George Daly Award winner Tom Owens. Also from the class of 2010, Shelley Turgeon Folsom. From the class of 2004, Bob Lynn. From the class of 2002, Phil Clarkin. From 2001, Bob Brummage. Not part of the procession, but I'd like to acknowledge from his seat, if he would please stand for a moment, from the class of 2000, Bob Keller. Where are you, Mr. Keller? All the way back in the back. Thank you, Mr. Keller. From the class of 2000, Bill Teed. From 1999, Sue McGovern. From 1998, Lisa Carrara. From 1997, Augie Gush. Also from 1997, Charlie Ragno. And from the charter class, the very first induction class of 1996, 51 years, field hockey coach at Enfield High and still going strong, undefeated, the legendary Cookie Brummage. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the reason we're all here tonight, the class of 2017. 4 members are with us from the 1956-57 Enfield High School Championship basketball team. Please welcome Willie Burke, Howie Brummage, Bill Chakowski, and Mike Nozel. Representing the Kevin Barmack Memorial Soccer Tournament, our George Daly Award recipient for 2017. Please welcome Kathy and Bruce Barmack. Now the individual honorees from the class of 2017. Liz Zeroli Chaves. Please welcome Brent Dietz. Please welcome Marty Green. Please welcome Karen McCartney Harding. And last but certainly not least, please welcome Coach Jim Russell. Today, Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most amazing collections of talent in Enfield sports history right here in front of you. Let's give a hand for all of our current and past honorees. And since we already took your picture out there, you may find your seats. If you don't know where it is, I can't help you. The Hall of Fame was born with an idea from an Enfield resident named Bill Chaves in 1995. It came to fruition in 1996 with the very first induction class. Bill, early on, got a very close, longtime personal friend involved and became his co-chair, Mike Cotner. They were co-chairs from 1995 until 1999 when Bill moved away and started doing athletic director things. And since 1999, Mike Cotner has been the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame chairman. At this time, I'd like to introduce, for some welcoming remarks, the chairman, Mr. Mike Cotner.
Thank you, everybody. It's so wonderful to see everybody here tonight. I can't believe it's 22 years since we started this organization. Believe it or not, my daughter was 1 year old when we started this organization, and now she works for the Boston Red Sox and a college graduate. So this is an amazing organization. Athletics has always been a part of my life, and certainly Billy Chaves' life, who had the dream to do this. So it's truly amazing for our town, our small town, to come back each and every year with our team of volunteers to put this together. So congratulations to all the inductees tonight, and we hope you have a great time tonight.
Thank you, Mike. If you look on, I believe it's the next to last page of your program, I'm not sure exactly, you'll see a list of all the sponsors and donors that have helped supply the Hall of Fame with the funds necessary to keep this organization going. We've got a number of them. We ask that you please patronize all of the donors and sponsors because they are so instrumental in our success. I'd like to give a special thanks this year for kind of taking over the awful job that nobody wants, soliciting businesses for donations. It's the worst thing in the world. You all know that. And thank you, Joe Anduchowski, for taking that on this year and doing the bulk of the work. We really do appreciate everything that you did in that regard. So thank you. Another of the sponsors of the Hall of Fame, or supporters, I should say, since day one has been the town of Enfield officials themselves. Bill Chaves in 1995 went to the town council asking for permission to use the town seal. They granted that, and since then, the town of Enfield has done wonders in showing support for this organization for the last 22 years. At this time, I'd like to introduce a classmate of both Mike and myself from the Fermi class of 1983. The mayor of Enfield, please welcome Mr. Scott Copen.
Over here. Yes. No, I like being out in front of the podium. Good evening, everyone. Wow, what a great crowd. This is outstanding. 22 years. Congratulations, Mike and Tim. And I remember the days when the thought came of we need to recognize our athletes here in Enfield. And 22 years later, you continue to honor that promise that you gave 22 plus years ago. And this is a testament. So on behalf of the town, very grateful to be here this evening. I'm joined with two of my colleagues. A familiar face that was here when the Hall of Fame started was Deputy Mayor at that time, Peter Falk. And a new face to town council stuff, but definitely not a new face to the athletic world here in Enfield, Bob Cressati. What I'd like to do at this time is read a proclamation honoring the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame and their 22nd annual induction ceremony. So you don't need to stand like way over there and way over there. Come on, guys. This is your deal. And actually, for me, it's been an honor to watch this Hall of Fame grow and prosper over the last 22 years. You've done remarkable work. So the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame was created as a nonprofit organization by Bill Chaves Jr. in 1995. And whereas the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame recognizes past and present individuals who have made a significant athletic contribution to the town of Enfield. And whereas the class of 2017 inductees to the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame include Brent Dietz, Marty Green, Karen Harding, Liz Chaves, and Coach Jim Russell. And whereas the Kevin Barmack Memorial Soccer Tournament is being recognized with the George Daly Jr. Award for drawing hundreds of people from around the region, and I should say thousands of people from around the region to benefit the Kevin Barmack Memorial Scholarship, named in honor of the talented 15-year-old that passed away in 1990. And whereas the 1956-57 Enfield High School boys basketball team will be honored with the Team Recipient Award. And whereas on this day, September 23rd, 2017, the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame is celebrating their 22nd annual induction ceremony. Now therefore I, Scott Copen, Mayor of the town of Enfield, on behalf of the town council, the town administration, and the citizens of our community, to hereby congratulate the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2017 inductees for their outstanding performance and many achievements during their extensive athletic careers. Signed today, September 23rd, 2017. Tim, Mike, and to all the members of the Athletic Hall of Fame, congratulations and thanks for the work that you do here in our community. Congratulations.
All three of us in the same graduating class, but yet not enough hair combined for the three of us to equal Howie Brummage. What's up with that? It is true. I heard that. I forgot what page it's on in the program, but we consider ourselves to be a family. You know, athletes are really families. And in the last year, since we've been here for the class of 2016, we've lost 3 members of our Hall of Fame family. So at this time, if we could just take one moment to remember the lives of Fran Slattery, Joe Golis, and Dickie Madsen. Thank you. The Hall of Fame has been doing a lot of things out there, a lot of which is under the radar, but some of the things have some pretty good prominence. We give out a $1,000 scholarship to an Enfield High School graduate each year, and we also give out a $1,000 scholarship in memory of our dear friend, Hall of Famer and former committee member, Amy Romano. Amy passed away in 2007. Been 10 years already, I can't believe that. 2007, suddenly at the age of 40, and we named the Amy Romano Scholarship in her honor, and we run a committee runs a field hockey, we have to call it a field hockey scrimmage, it used to be a jamboree, and we raise money for the scholarship fund through that and through the support of all of you. Amy is not the only committee member that we've lost during our tenure in 22 years. Back when the Hall of Fame started, back in 1996, there was a committee member named George Daly that many of you may remember. George was one of the early researchers in biographies for candidates for the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, in 1996, George passed away just 3 days before the very first induction ceremony. In 1997, the Hall of Fame established the George Daly Special Recognition Award in George's memory. Ordinarily, George's widow, Elena, is here. Due to a family commitment, she could not be here today, so I would call upon Mr. Kottner to come up to prepare to hand out the George Daly Award. And this year's is so special, I just can't tell you how special this is. Kevin Barmack, when I worked at JFK in the late 80s, was a student over there. And he lived for soccer. Tremendous player. Played internationally. Enfield Soccer Club, you name it, his life was soccer. As was mentioned in the proclamation from the mayor, we lost Kevin in 1990. In 1992, the Kevin Barmack Memorial Soccer Tournament was founded. When you said thousands, Scott, you weren't kidding. There's literally been, if you've ever driven around Labor Day weekend around Enfield, Lego Fields, Enfield High School, you name it, every field in this town at one time was covered with soccer players from Massachusetts, Connecticut, all over the place. Funds raised from the tournament go towards a scholarship in Kevin's memory. And I believe 2 or 3 years ago, and Bruce can probably expand on that, the tournament was expanded to include the name of also Scott Bryson, another very, very instrumental worker with that tournament who passed away unexpectedly. This past Labor Day weekend was the 26th playing of the Barmack tournament. In fact, around Enfield, you don't even have to give it the full name. All you have to do is say the Barmack, and everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. At this time, I would like to introduce Kevin's parents, Kathy and Bruce Barmack, to accept the George Daly Special Recognition Award on the tournament's behalf. Sorry about the long walk. I didn't do the seating chart. Just like to ask a couple of questions, if it's okay, while you're up here. Obviously, like I said, Kevin's life was soccer. If you could just tell us about his passion for the game.
Well, Kevin started to play soccer when he was 6 years old, and he played on a rec team first, and he hated losing, so he wanted to get that ball in the net, and that's what happened. The kids all gave Kevin the ball, and he would go and put it in the net. So he was very short for the rec team and played a travel team a year earlier than he should have. You could actually play out of your age level at that year, and he played a year up, and he continued to play with that team his entire career in Enfield. From there he played district, and from district he played state. And he played state until he was very ill. The summer before he died, he played state as well. When he played at Fermi and when he played in his games, Kevin would often have a seizure, a grand mal seizure on the field. Well, back then, the kids didn't have to leave the field when they had a grand mal seizure. And he would just get up. The ref knew what to do. If I was in the stands, which I always was, and they were concerned, they would call me down, would get him past the seizure, and very often he would get up and continue playing the game. Because of his tenacity, he was awarded the Suffield Most Inspirational Player Award the year before he died. One day, when he was playing in indoor soccer, his concern was always for his teammates. It was always for the game. He walked off the field and he said, "Mom, I'm not helping my team anymore." And that was his last. It was the Thanksgiving tournament before he died. But that was the kind of player that Kevin was. We're very proud of our son. Our son felt he was afraid. One day he said to me, he said, "Mom," he said, what bothers me the most is that I'm only 15 years old and no one will ever know that I ever lived. And he said, that hurts me. And I told him not to worry. And because of Enfield Soccer and because of this tournament, this award Springs. That's post cycle.
The tournament started in 1992, and Bruce, if you could tell us a little bit about how you and Kathy were approached about getting the tournament started.
Thank you. Yes, we were, first of all, I'd like to recognize a few people if I can. First of all, ironically in this room tonight are all of Kevin's coaches, and if they're here, if they could please stand. First is Phil Clarkin, Kevin's coach at JFK. John LeBlanc, who was his freshman coach at Enrico Fermi. And Jim Russell was the varsity coach at Fermi. And I'll share with you one quick little piece about Mr. Russell, is that he made it a point to come visit Kevin in Boston when Kevin was very ill. So Jim, we can't thank you enough for that. Thank you. In regards to the tournament, the other gentleman sitting in the back is Kevin Schnars. Kevin, stand up. Kevin, stand please. Come on. Thank you. Kevin was the original tournament director, and he and members of Enfield Soccer came to us and said we want to have this tournament in Kevin's memory. And we started this with 6 teams or 8 teams, Kevin. I'm not sure which one it was. No, it was a small number of teams. 8 teams we started with. And this year we had over 50 teams. So Kevin was the instrument to start this. We met in Kevin's kitchen, around his kitchen table, and proceeded to grow this tournament year after year from there. So, and Enfield Soccer has been very, very supportive of this tournament.
I just want to encourage everyone to support this tournament. There's a scholarship fund in Kevin's memory that's supported by it. It's an amazing thing, whether you like soccer or not, just to see all these kids from all over the place, the different colored uniforms. Rita's Ice usually shows up at one of the fields. It's really nice. But it's, in all seriousness, you've never seen more soccer players in your life, and they range in age from little mites up to about high school age, I think, in the tournament. Support it if you can. It's a wonderful, wonderful cause. And my final comment on this, in the face of such tragic circumstances, I don't know 2 people who've carried themselves with more honor, grace, and dignity than Kathy and Bruce Barmack. Congratulations. It is time to meet the class of 2017. We've got 5 individuals and a team being inducted into the Hall of Fame this evening. And we're going to start with the team, because this is a very special anniversary. 60 years ago, in 1956-57, ending in the spring of 1957, the Enfield High School boys basketball team won one of the most difficult competitive conferences in all of New England, the Valley Wheel, which had the best teams from throughout Western Massachusetts in it. They were 16-2 against the cream of the crop, winning the conference championship that season. Led by a pair of the original Hall of Famers from the first class of 1996, leading scorer Tony Romano and head coach Carl Angelica. We are privileged to have 4 of the team members here with us tonight, plus Tony Romano's brother is here to accept his award. I'd like, at this time, for Willie Burke, I lost my notes. Not the first time, won't be the last. Willie Burke, Howie Brummage, Bill Chakowski, Mike Nozel, and Fred Romano on behalf of his brother Tony to please come forward to accept the team award. And as they're getting their awards and I assume someone's going to take their photo. Mr. Nozel, I'm impressed. Mike Nozel was wearing the Valley Wheel champion jacket from 1957. Hey, Mike. Mike, button it. The buttons are broke. There's a shock. That'd be like me trying to button my jacket. Are you kidding me? Would someone like to step forward to answer a couple of questions on behalf of the team? And it can't be Mike because he's going to try to sell us a shack somewhere. So it's just kidding. Howie Brummage, this is now a 3-time Hall of Famer for you. With your basketball, what was that team that got in? The Grays team. That's what it was. And this team, and of course inducted as an individual in 1999. Mr. Brummage, tell us what you can about that magical season of 56-57.
Well, first of all, I'd like to recognize those members of the team that are no longer with us. Rupert Gove, Tim Provencher, Ray King, and our most valuable player and captain, Tony Romano. And our coach, Carl Angelica.
You were up against the biggest, the baddest teams in the Valley Wheel, which was mostly Western Massachusetts teams, and they were among the top competitors that you ever in all of New England. So to come out on top like that, winning 16 out of 18 games, is probably something that most likely hasn't happened at Enfield High School very often since then. And on this, the occasion of the 60th anniversary of that, what's the feeling of the consensus of the guys about being honored with the Hall of Fame induction tonight?
We're very pleased to be here. We're fortunate to be able to be here to accept the award, and we thank the committee for their memories of a team that's 60 years old. We had a lot of fun playing, and we did play Springfield schools, Western Mass, Agawam, West Springfield, Palmer, Ware, Ludlow, and Classical and Trade School from Massachusetts. So we had a great season, and we had a great time doing it.
I'm going to have you repeat what you just said because those people have been looking at your back for the last 3 minutes. One last thing, if you can. Tell us, Carl Angelica was, of course, one of the original Hall of Fame inductees, and I don't think there's anybody that went to Enfield High School from the 50s through the 70s that didn't play for Carl Angelica. Tell how he was as a coach and the influence he had on all you guys, both as athletes and as men.
Hard to do in a few words, but he was very fair to all his players. He played, if you deserved to play, he gave you a spot, and he always gave you a chance, and he was a true sportsman. There was never any yelling at the players on the team. He was very competitive, but he had a perspective about it too, and we were very fortunate to play with him over the years. I played baseball, basketball, and football for him, and it was a privilege and an honor.
You guys concur? Anybody have any disagreement on there? Didn't think so. You sure you're not going to try to button it? Okay. Broke. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the 1956-57 Valley Wheel champion Enfield High School basketball team. Very well done, gentlemen. And now, 5 individuals will be joining the ranks of Enfield's finest. And one thing that's really neat this year is some firsts, some seconds. For example, being inducted this year, for the first time in 22 years, we have a tennis player. Well, thank you, whoever that was. I believe for the first time we have a female soccer player. If I'm wrong, correct me. Okay. Not one woman corrected me, and usually they leap at that opportunity. So, For just the second time in 22 years, we will be inducting a golfer into the Hall of Fame. And if I'm not mistaken, other than Bill Teed, I don't think we've ever inducted a soccer coach other than Bill until tonight. We'll be inducting our second one ever. Now, Marty, wrestlers, we've had a lot of those, so you're nothing special at all. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding you, Marty. In a little bit of a change of order from what you see in there, because I love to throw curveballs to people. First person we're going to induct, and it's going to be a little bit different on this part, by the way. I'm going to sit here after I introduce you. The inductee will come and sit in the middle and pick up that microphone, and that will terrify at least one, if not more, of the inductees. Our first individual tonight, the very first female soccer player to be inducted into this Hall of Fame. From Enfield High School to this day, the leading scorer among females in Enfield High School soccer history, 28 years after graduating as a Raider. She then played 4 years in college, winning championships in her college's top 10 all-time in a number of categories. Just a phenomenal soccer player and overall athlete. She's also, I'm going to make her real nervous, she's terrified. So you gotta bear with her, okay? Well, she's probably terrified having to sit next to me, so. Being presented by 1998, being accompanied to the podium by 1998 Hall of Famer Lisa Carrara. Please welcome into the Hall of Fame, Liz Zaroli Chaves. Oh, Mike presents and takes pictures. Never knew he had so much talent. I'm going to test this out here, make sure this will work without giving a loud noise. Perfect. Want to test it out? Don't blow in it, just talk. Make sure it works. You got to hold it up high. There you go.
Hi.
Well put. Ladies and gentlemen, no, I'm just kidding. Liz, congratulations on your well-deserved induction into the Hall of Fame. I know you're probably familiar with this Hall of Fame, being married to, well, the man that actually founded this Hall of Fame, Bill Chaves, back in 1995. And sorry that he couldn't be here with us, but he's on the West Coast tending to business. Soccer. Tell us how you got involved in soccer. She's laughing. Boy, that was a real hilarious question, wasn't it? I'll tell you.
Well, you know, it was, I was very young and started out playing for the town and just stick with it and played in junior high and high school and college, and so just started really young and probably co-ed teams and rec leagues. So.
I was going to say, I was told earlier out during the cocktails that you actually played on a boys' travel team early on in your days. Tell us about having to play with those guys.
Gosh, you know, I do remember that long ago. Where's Gary? You know, it was always just fun. It was always just a lot of fun. It made a lot of good friends, and just always had a good time, no matter playing with the boys or with the girls. So,
sitting right over here is a beaming Coach Crisati. Tell him about the influence that he had on your playing days.
You know, I just love Coach Crisati, and I had a wonderful time in high school. It was so memorable, and I just thank you for those 4 years. It was really, really a good time in my life, so thank you.
Last question, because you could tell she's nervous, but I think she's doing great, first of all. If you had to pick one highlight of your entire soccer career, oh, well, you knew that was coming, If you had to pick just one, it will give you 20 minutes to think about it, or 20 seconds, whichever. What would it be?
I would say back in high school, and I'm sure, Coach, you I don't know if you remember this, but I do. You know, Manchester was incredibly difficult. They were huge. They won, and they beat us a lot. But one game we scored a goal. And it was like we won the World Cup because we scored against Manchester, and it was just, it was like a mad rush, a pig pile. It was wonderful just to score against them. So I do remember that. So.
I'm going to cut you a break. Maiden name was Zeroli. Could you tell she's over here doing all this the way she's talking? You're off the hook from now. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome into the Hall of Fame Liz Zeroli Chaves.
Thank you.
Since 2004, Bob Lynn has had a monopoly as being the only golfer we have in the Hall of Fame. Not anymore, Bob. Our next inductee is Brent Dietz. Brent has so many championships that we don't even scratch the surface on what's in the program. I can tell you that he does hold the course record at 5 different courses. He's also coming up before I'm ready to introduce him. That's pretty good. Thanks, Bob. Good guidance there. He's still at it despite having to overcome some physical hardships. 2 years ago, I followed him at the Travelers Championship qualifier. The man could barely walk, and he missed qualifying for the Travelers Championship by 1 shot in a field of 89 golfers. Only 4 people get in, and PGA professionals play in that qualifier. So this man is among the best of the best we've ever had here in the town of Enfield. Most recently, he just won the 2017 CSGA Tournament of Champions, being accompanied to the stage by 2004 Hall of Famer Bob Lynn. Please welcome Mr. Brent Dietz.
Hello?
Go down just a little bit on that. I got it. Okay. Brent, congratulations. I was just so blown away when I followed you around that course. I think that was at Crestview that year, if I'm not mistaken. I wrote a story about your quest to qualify. Barely able to walk, problems with your hip, and just 1 shot behind PGA professionals the whole bit. But you didn't take up golf seriously, from what I understand, until pretty much after high school and college. Is that correct?
Yes, I took it up when I was 24 years old.
You took it up at 24?
Yes.
And you're 40-something now?
46.
40. He said that with a question, by the way. That was once you get over 30, we stop counting. What prompted you to take up golf? Because I understand you were a tremendous basketball player at Fermi and your younger days, and you even played. Where did you go to? Pierce, Franklin Pierce, and played. So what made you take up golf, which ended up becoming obviously what you were destined to do?
I was drawn by the intricacies of the game of golf. It's a physical and more mental test, so that's what attracted me to golf.
You have the record at 5 different courses, including here at Oak Ridge.
Yes.
At Great Horse. I can't remember the other ones, but it's in your program. Most people don't get to set a record at 1 course, never mind 5. Of all the championships that you've won, is there any one in particular that it would be most satisfying?
I'd have to say it was the first one. Once you got over the hump of the first one, it seemed like you battled the nerves and made it and accomplished it, because it's very difficult to actually win a golf tournament. There's so many great players, and it's just everything has to fall right in line. A little luck, a little of everything to win. So the first one I won was very special.
Can you tell us what the first one was and when?
It was the Connecticut State Mid-Am in 2007.
You probably can't even count how many you've won since then.
No.
Eight straight club championships at Cedar Knob. That's a record that's continuing right now. I think you've won 11 overall, 11 or 12 at Cedar Knob. All those course records and all. If there was one highlight, did I just ask you that already? No. Sort
Maybe.
of. Sort of, your first tournament victory. But tell me now, you've got surgery upcoming, but yet you were out there and you win the Tournament of Champions against some of these young, not that you're not young, you're younger than I am, but some of these 25-year-olds that hit the ball 300 yards. So to what do you attribute your ability to keep up with these young monsters when you obviously can't hit it as far as they can?
Short game. Chipping and putting, which is how you score in the game of golf. And most of these kids, they really bomb it, but they got a little ways to go with that. You know, Bobby's the one who I kind of idolized when I started playing golf, and I watched, you know, his short game and how he dissected a golf course and learned a lot from him.
Bob, I do have a question for you, if you don't mind taking the microphone. You've played with Brent in the past. You, up until now, had the monopoly on golf in this Hall of Fame. For 13 years, you enjoyed that. Having watched him up close, playing with him, against him, what would you attribute his success to as a fellow competitor?
Well, I've played with Brent quite a bit over the years, and I found out the best two parts of his game is his racer on his pencil and his foot wedge, which is usually the right foot. No, contrary to that, Brent is well respected in the golf scene around all of New England, basically because he's the kind of guy that has dug it out of the dirt, which in our game means he doesn't mind practicing. And just one instance, a couple years ago, Brent played with his friend up in a Massachusetts event up around Boston. They finished their round, and I heard this afterwards. They finished the round, and his friend goes home, but Brent came over here. And a friend of mine was telling me the story, and it's like dark out. They got a little light on the back of the pro shop, and Brent is over there hitting putts, 9 o'clock at night. And like Brent said, it's very, very difficult to win a golf tournament these days. I don't care if it's the D division in your club championship, but every award or course record that Brent has achieved, he has definitely earned it. Nothing was given to him. And as a fellow golfer, we very well respected the fact that Brent put so much time into his game. And in the game of golf, what you put in is maybe sometimes what you get back.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you, Bobby.
please welcome into the Hall of Fame, Mr. Brent Dietz. This is 2017, is it not? Anybody have a camera in their phone? Just hold it up. I just want to see. Who's got cameras in their phone right now? Everybody in the world. Pictures are being taken every day, all day. Pictures are being taken in here. Yet Marty Green opted to go for the Tom Cruise center part of 1983 for his picture. That's okay, though. That's where he achieved his most. Sorry, I told you I had to get you. That's where he achieved his biggest success. A wrestler extraordinaire as part of the great, great teams at Enfield High School. Enfield High won state titles in 1979 before he got there. They won them in 1984 after he left. Wait a minute, you weren't part of any championships, Marty. What's up with that? Maybe we need to reconsider that. I won't do that to you. The biggest thing about Marty, in the state open as a senior in 1983, he won the state open championship without giving up a single point in the entire open tournament. Nobody gave him a takedown. Nobody gave him anything. Nobody escaped from him. Obviously, that's a record that can never be beaten. He will hold or co-hold that state record forever. Coach, you going to be coming up with him? Coach? Being accompanied to the stage by 2013 Hall of Famer Coach Kirk Parker. Please welcome into the Hall of Fame, Mr. Marty Green. Got to keep adjusting this. Everybody's been so nervous that they're talking soft. Marty, you want to try that? Go ahead. You got to put it on.
What?
See the little on thing? There you go. Let's see what you got.
It's on.
Okay, good. Got to hold it up really high, though. If you
It's
talk
been
from your
on.
chest, we're not going to hear you. All right. Congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame. Very, very, very well deserved. No points. We're going to cut right to it. No points against you in the State Open. Nobody took you down. Nobody escaped from your clutches. What was going on? Were you pinning everybody in the first period? Tell us about the run that you had that year.
I do remember the finals, the championship. Yeah, I went and pinned everyone. I think it was within the first minute, and then won the last one.
See if I can make a little adjustment. Just not too much. Try it now, Marty.
Hello.
Hey, look at that. I got to keep adjusting it for every different person. When Jim comes, oh, never mind. So you pinned everybody in the first minute. If I'd have known that, I wouldn't have picked on him about his hair.
I wouldn't pick on anyone with that hair. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, and it's usually women I get insulted by. All right.
Okay.
Very, very well put. Tell us how you initially got involved in wrestling.
I was in fourth grade, I believe, and my brother was in JFK. And Coach Andy asked him if he had any little brothers that wanted to wrestle. So I went to a tournament with the team, and I think I wrestled, it was 55 pounds in Lawrence, Mass. Yeah, first tournament.
Then, of course, tremendous success at JFK, where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the program was 89-2 during Joe's tenure. I mean, it was a phenomenal, phenomenal record. Did you really develop your skills during that time under Joe's tutelage?
I did, yeah. That, and we had a great bunch of wrestlers to practice with. And I had my brother at home beating on me, my two brothers, actually. Then the whole table over there is guys I all grew up with. They got the same beating every night, too, so they were there.
And then when you get to Enfield High, both Coach Andy and Coach Parker, what can you say about the guidance of Coach Parker as a leader? I mean, the man has 2 state championships under his belt, so he's obviously a tremendous coach.
Oh, when we found out Coach Parker was staying at Enfield High when I was moving up, I was thrilled to death because I had heard about him coaching. And then Coach Andy moved up with him, too, which worked out even better. We had both of them, so it worked out good.
Like I've asked everybody, if you had to single out one highlight, what would it be?
Probably the State Open champion, the championship with the light. It was pretty neat how they had the lights just on the one mat, and that was pretty good there.
You were literally in the spotlight, huh?
In the spotlight.
At 132 pounds.
132. Yeah.
Still not 132 anymore?
Yeah, 135 now.
135. There you go. All right. Well, again, congratulations, Marty. Well-deserved induction. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Marty Green. $132. Excuse me, I've been fighting this cough for 3 days. Excuse me 1 second. As I mentioned at the top of this presentation, today is a first, the very first tennis player that will ever induct into the Hall of Fame. 22 years, we've never had one. And when we saw these credentials, how could you not be thoroughly impressed? Starting at Kosciuszko Junior High as a 9th grader and playing for Enfield High, which you could do at that time if the junior high didn't have a sport offered. If you remember, Mr. Janney played for JFK or went to JFK and played for Enfield High. So you were just mentioned in the same breath with Craig Janney. Outstanding tennis player, #1 player her entire career at Enfield High School. All-state semifinalist as a junior, state finalist as a senior. Undefeated in her senior year. She then went on to play Division I tennis for 4 years in the Big East Conference at the University of Connecticut. Being escorted to the stage by 1998 Hall of Famer Lisa Carrara. Didn't I say that before? I thought I did. Please welcome into the Hall of Fame Ms. Karen McCartney Harding. Try one more. Lisa, can you step up here? And we'll try one more picture. I'm sorry. There you go. Lisa knows I love her. Karen, congratulations on not only your election to the Hall of Fame, but in being a trailblazer, the very first tennis player, male or female, ever inducted. I realized talking earlier, you weren't aware of that, so tell me what you were thinking about when you found out that you are the very first.
Oh, hi. I was surprised. Although when I was a kid, no one really played. There weren't many tennis players in Enfield. So, as I was saying, when I was little, I would ride my bike up to the courts and try and wait for someone to come because I had no friends that played tennis at that time when I was little. But yeah, I didn't know I was the only one.
So if there was no one to play tennis with, where did you go? What did you do?
I rode my bike up. I rode up to Enfield Street School when they had 2 courts back there, and I would just wait. And there were a few men that would come along, and they would let me join in. And I would go up to Enfield High School after that. But when I was really little, I wanted to play very badly, and my father played golf, so he made a deal with me. And before he'd go to work in the morning, he would take me up to Enfield High School, and we would hit golf balls, and then he would take me over to hit tennis balls. So that's how I got into tennis. It's from
You didn't like the golf part?
I did. I ended up playing golf too, but I like tennis better.
Good. You're aware we have a tournament every year for the whole. Oh, never mind. We'll do that later on. Anyway, getting from Kosciuszko to Enfield High School every day. How did you get? I mean, it's not like it was around the corner. It's probably 3-4 miles. How did you get from the junior high over to there to practice every day with the team?
Well, my mother used to pick me up, but the bus would come and for the games and pick me up. And take me to. They would come to the middle school and pick me up and take me. And my mother would follow the bus actually with oranges and water and everything. Never missed a game.
She called it the middle school, but it was actually the junior high school at that time. That's right. Remember the Big K? Any Big K alumni here, by the way, besides me? Look at that. The Big K. I love it. Love it. What a place. Anybody ever teach there? We'll talk to you. Bobby? Marilyn? We'll talk later. Teach there in the 70s? We'll talk later. State semifinalist as a junior and then state finalist as a senior. I mean, that's obviously further than anybody had ever gone before, and quite frankly, nobody from FI has ever gone that far since. So tell me about playing against the best players, high school age, in the state of Connecticut.
Well, I actually played against my teammate Lisa Tates in the quarterfinals, but in my senior year, I played against a girl that I ended up playing at UConn. So that was kind of fun. We both played together then. But Mr. Kramer actually was my coach, and he would, for playoffs, we didn't have a bus, so he used to pick me up in his little car, and we would drive all over to the games, and he was a great coach. So, but yeah, that was a highlight going to the finals.
And that was my next question. As you know, your biggest highlight of your career, would it be that final match?
Yeah.
Tell me about your college days at UConn, playing 4 years of Big East, very competitive tennis.
Yep. That was fun. It was a great experience, met a lot of friends. I loved the game of tennis, so it was great to play in college, and it was a great experience.
Well, you are a trailblazer, the very, very first. No one will ever supplant you as the first tennis player ever inducted. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to Karen McCartney Harding. It's 8:40, so I'm going to call it a night. And, oh, not yet. I can't. We've got one more inductee tonight. And I'm going to do something I normally try not to do. I'm going to be very serious, actually, for a moment, which as anybody that knows me knows that I'm not. Bruce and Kathy, when they were up here earlier, talked about their son. And when Kevin was ill, Jim spent a lot of time visiting him when he was hospitalized, etc. I believe that. I didn't know Jim at that time, but I do believe that. Because when I was sick with cancer a few years ago, other than my own family, no one called me more to check on me than Jim Russell did. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. It's not only a tribute to what a great, you're a great coach, an even better person, and a true friend. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Now I'll take myself out of it and tell you all that Jim Russell was the winningest soccer coach in I said Enfield. Ooh, sorry. Well, we only have one school now. I'm all confused. My daughter plays for Enfield, and it goes against everything I believe. Fermi High School, 220 victories, 4 CCC championships, which is pretty good considering you got John Bloomstrand and E.O. Smith, the juggernaut in there for the last 35 years you got to compete against. He's an Enfield Hall of Famer also, by the way. 2 state semifinal appearances, and a state runner-up finish in 2006, the highest Fermi team ever in soccer. All this despite the fact that his very first year out of 29, he told me he didn't win a single game. Well, somehow they got the program on track and won an awful lot of games after that. I can't say any more other than to say that being accompanied to the stage by 1997 Hall of Famer Charlie Ragno. Please welcome tonight's final inductee, Mr. Jim Russell. In a departure from normal procedure, Jim's microphone is live already.
Hello to all. The young man, Brad, that is quite a golfer, and the young lady that is quite a tennis player, and I have something in common. This past golf season, and I gave up the sport for about 5 years, it's very frustrating. So anyway, a fellow employee at FedEx asked me to play in a league with him at Cedar Knob. It's a 22-man teams. So I agreed. That was a mistake. So we just had our banquet a couple weeks ago. And I couldn't stay for the banquet because I have to get up at 3:30 in the morning to go to work. So my partner who works at FedEx comes in the next day. He says, "Hey, Coach." Everybody calls me Coach at FedEx. And he goes, you won a prize in the golf league. I said, "I did? What did I win?" So this is where you two come in. I won a sleeve of tennis balls, 3 tennis balls. And so I started in April, and then all of May, all of June, all of July, all of August, and I ended the middle of September. And I had 1 par in all those months. And that got me the sleeve of tennis balls. Thank you very much.
So obviously Jim subscribes to the best bowling score as when it comes to the golf course. Okay. By the way, if you'd have told us that story before, we would have revoked your credentials. You realize that? Okay. Just want to make sure that you knew that. From what I understand, you didn't even play soccer growing up. You know, some of our best coaches we've ever had in town, it's kind of unusual, didn't even play the sports that they became known for coaching. I can give a couple of examples. I know Cookie Bromwich had told me years ago she didn't start playing field hockey until she went to college. Jeff Beeler, who was a wrestling coach at Fermi, never wrestled until he became a coach. It's just interesting how sometimes someone can find their niche without realizing it early on. So you didn't play soccer, but you got into coaching. So tell us how that came about.
Well, the sport of soccer, it was my son. He was, 6, 8 years old, and he fell in love with the game. So I was a football and lacrosse person in Long Island. And so I said, well, I have to learn something about this sport. So I went to several clinics. I got several licenses. And then I asked I think it was 87, if I could assist the head coach so I could learn a little bit about X's and O's, practice drills, and so on and so forth. And back in those days, I might have had, if I was fortunate enough, 2 premier players. I remember both of them. And they were the only game in town for premier was Oakwood. You know, now you got so many clubs. But, so it was basically my son. And I remember, I think it was an indoor session at Oakwood, and I was helping a coach. I was like the stat man, you know, or I'd run for this or run for that. And so the next session, he goes, Jim, you're going to coach the team this session. I said, what? I don't know anything about coaching. So I have very good people skills. And I don't think this really pertains. It pertains to like any facet of life where you have you're a leader, and you have individuals that you're going to lead, and I care about people tremendously. So I have good people skills. I care about people. I don't care if you're the worst or the best. You're all the same to me, and that's the way and I had tremendous discipline with all the teams I coached. There was no profanity allowed at all, and if I heard it, the whole team ran. And now you got peer pressure. You got to not only deal with me, but you got to deal with your peers, and that's the way I coached. And I remember I got a letter from a kid at Rockville High School. It just so happens it was on the same day of that terrible incident in Connecticut here, and I hadn't heard about it because I got off work and I went right from work to Rockville High School to meet this kid that wrote me this letter. And, you know, I had to go through a lot of doors and people to finally meet. There were 2 kids that composed this letter. And why me, gentlemen? And they go, Coach, you win. I said, no, I don't always win. I started out, I didn't win my first game till my second year coaching. He said, yeah, but in our years here at Rockville High School, you win. And you're not an E.O. Smith. You're not a Ram. You're not a Tolland. You know, you're in a town with 2 high schools. How do you do it? And basically that's what it was. It was anybody that ever played for me. I struck out a couple times. I made mistakes. I'm human. Like I told the kids, that's why they put erasers on pencils, because humans make mistakes. And but overall, most of the kids loved to play for me. There's a guy back there that played for me, and he called me to tell me, never in my wildest dreams did I ever believe I would be sitting here with Rags on one side and this guy on the other side, and all of you that are already members. But thank you very much. I've done enough. I get on a roll, right, Gary?
That's all right. I got the big hook ready, Jim. I just have one last question. You've had some tremendous players in 29 years as the head coach. If you can look into a crystal ball, which of your players, which one player above all, do you feel will someday be sitting here alongside you in this Hall of Fame?
That's not a difficult question at all. His name is Tony Allegro, and he's the present Enfield boys coach. He played 4 years for me, and then he went on to play 4 years at Division I at Sacred Heart. And at some point in my career, I was very pleased. I was getting an influx of premier players, and now my lack of my foot skills, they didn't help out too much. So I recruited. It was actually 2008, I think it was, that I recruited Tony. I had a tremendous booster club to support me, along with this young lady right here. And, excuse me. But anyway, I utilized the booster club and this young lady. I worked odd hours. And I remember when every year, all you coaches, you know, you have one of your favorite times is the parent coaches preseason get-together. You know that, Cookie. You've been doing it for 51 years. But anyway, so I would tell them all, 8 o'clock is the shutoff. Do not call me or do anything from 8 o'clock on, because I had to get up at 1:30 in the morning to go to work. And sometimes there would be a phone call or, well, now you got texts. You know, it was a while before they could even text me. I wouldn't even allow that. And emails, you know, it was all done by paper when I first started. But this young lady would, she saved me so many times, because, you know, I'd be tired, I'd be aggravated. I'll take care of it, Jim. And she always did. And, you know, I guess that's why, mainly because of her. You know, you asked me, when we talked on the phone, you said to me, is there a mentor in your life that got you involved? Yeah, that young lady right there. And, you know, here I am. Thank you.
I think we'll call it a day right there. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Russell. I think there's enough applause left for one more round for the class of 2017. And Jim, you said you get up at 3:30 in the morning? Dave Frederick's not even done throwing up at that hour. I mean, you know. Oh, sorry, Davey, just kidding you. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal portion of tonight's ceremony. Thank you so much for letting me come out and play with you tonight. The pleasure was all mine. Congratulations again to all of the honorees, so well deserved. Thank you again, and please join us next season. Thank you. I'm now going to turn it back over to our chairman, Mr. Mike Cotner.
Thank you, and I also just want to echo congratulations to all the inductees, and you can see this night is about family, and family leads to fine individuals from everybody that we're honoring. So thank you. Please follow us on our website and attend our events as well, but most importantly, it's your Hall of Fame, so please support it.